Look, I'm not a man of science, but you seem incredibly passed away. But it's good to see you.
G'day, mate. There's nothing that'll bring me back to life faster than a big bag of marble cash.
Oh, you had to get all noble and die for real.
God.
What's up, guys? It's Benny. Poof, like a magic trick, Joe Biden's gone. Never to be heard from again. I doubt we'll ever see Joe Biden talk on camera ever again. It's that bad. But back when they were still propping up Joe Biden and his DEI running mate and dragging his corpse around and making him say things on camera, Joe Biden said this very interesting line, and we kept being screamed at by people to just listen to Joe Biden and take him at his word. Okay, let's do that.
We have put together, I think, the most extensive and inclusive voter fraud organization in the history of American politics.
Got it. Okay, so am I allowed to just take Joe Biden at his word here? Stop manipulating what he's saying. Stop joking about Joe Biden. Just listen to the man. That's what we were screamed at. He's so wise. He's so smart. He's such a statesman. When he speaks, take him seriously. Stop making fun of him. Okay, fine. Let's do it. We've put together the largest voter fraud operation in American history. That is, of course, obviously how you get results like this in the election. Here's the 2012 election. This is the number of Democrat votes versus Republican. 2016 election. Trump added a little bit to the Republican tally. He ended up winning by a whisker in the Electoral College. Then 2020 comes around and suddenly Democrats just print 20 million votes out of thin air. How'd that happen exactly? Oh, and then by the time Kamala Harris, the DEI body double of Joe Biden, runs, we're right back down to the exact same levels. So you have 3 elections here where Democrats don't earn a single vote more than the next Democrat down the line. And then you have Joe Biden, who is so inspiring that 20 million people, fake people, were just printed out of nowhere. Yeah, got it. Okay. Somebody is really going to have to explain to me where those 20 million votes went. Where'd they go? Exactly. Yeah. I'll show you where they went. 5 charged with election crimes stemming from 2023 Bridgeport primary. In total, there are 271 different state and federal charges for this voter fraud scheme in just one state. Yeah, so when they tell you there's no such thing as voter fraud, show them the federal cases. Now that Dan Bongino and Cash Patel are in charge, I assume there's going to be a lot more federal voter fraud cases hunted down. But there's something else that needs to be hunted down. How do Democrats get so many dollars into their bank accounts? This was something that we've been covering for a while and haven't talked about it in a little bit. And so I want to jump back into this, ladies and gentlemen. Something called ActBlue. Maybe you never heard of it, but it's really important. ActBlue is this massive donation funnel for Democrats. ActBlue doesn't require any type of credit card verification for donations. So effectively, the money can come from anywhere. Just as long as the money's actually hitting the bank account, it just really doesn't matter. There's no way to trace where the money's actually coming from, which seems insane and a obvious opportunity for fraud. Why is that important? Well, because it's illegal to have foreigners fund elections in America, right? It's not some sultan from Dubai or some Chinese Communist Party oligarch can't pour $1 billion into the election. It's not allowed. But you could in this system, and that does, in fact, happen. Get a load of this. Carrie Alberti is a 79-year-old living in poverty in the Virginia Richmond suburbs. She can barely afford her apartment that's rent is less than $2,000 per month. Yet Carrie Alberti, who's 79 years old, little old lady living in rent control, according to ActBlue, has donated 22,000 times to Democrats, totaling nearly $1 million in the last 500 days. Something don't look right here. This is, of course, according to ActBlue. ActBlue is just saying, nope, sorry, the money comes through. James O'Keefe deserves a ton of credit for walking up to people's houses and saying, yo, did you donate millions of times to Democrats? And everyone's like, no. there's literal evidence that these people are, what's happening is that it's identity theft. So maybe they did donate one time. This system then steals their name and address, and then they funnel money through on their names. And then they dare people to go investigate. James O'Keefe did. He found out that nobody actually was donating. None of these people said that they donated, especially impoverished people. But there's a ton of these. There's millions of these. One Virginia donor, 22,000 transactions. This is the one that we were talking about. There's a massive, massive, massive list of this. Example after example after example of literal money laundering through this Democrat donor organ called ActBlue. Okay. That gets us along nicely to the current state of ActBlue, which isn't good. Something insane is going on inside of ActBlue. The rats are literally fleeing the ship. Get a load of this. ActBlue, the Democrat fundraising powerhouse, faces internal chaos. At least 7 senior officials have left the group, setting off deep concerns about its future as it confronts scrutiny from congressional Republicans. Oh, once you start investigating, you start to realize that ActBlue, the online fundraising organization that powers the Democrat candidate, has plunged into turmoil. The departures from ActBlue, which help raise money for Democrats running for office at all levels of government, come as the group is under investigation by congressional Republicans. They have advanced legislation some Democrats warn could be used to debilitate the party's fundraising operation. Oh, really? Well, well, well. The exodus has set off a deep concern about ActBlue's future. Last week, 2 unions representing the group's workers sent a blistering letter to the board of directors that listed 7 officials who had left. The letter described an alarming pattern of departures eroding the confidence and stability of the organization. Oh, and it gets worse, ladies and gentlemen. Here's a summary from Charlie. The last remaining lawyer in ActBlue's general counsel office has been locked out of his email and put on leave after sending an internal message that says, "We have whistleblower policies for a reason." Oh, no. So someone's yapping. More than $16 billion passed through ActBlue in the last 20 years. What could they possibly be hiding? These are all of the headlines for people that really care. This is a massive problem. Like, having the data on all these donors is how you're able to like hit and sell lists. This is very, very, very important when it comes to campaigning, when it comes to the value of the political process, like making sure that you have a database of these names and these donors is like the most valuable thing you can have. People sell these lists for like hundreds of millions of dollars. And they fundraise off of them. And this is, of course, you must have the dollars in your bank account to keep running, to keep running for office. And there are limits. PACs can spend money, but even Elon Musk can only donate like $4,000 to Trump. That's it. As an individual, he has limits. His companies can donate like $5,000 to Trump. That's it. You donate a penny more, you're going to prison, right? That's how this works. And a lot of people do go to prison, actually, for donating a penny more. They take this stuff very, very seriously. Every single year, a lot of people go to jail for election fraud violations of the financials. Oh, boy. But ladies and gentlemen, at ActBlue, I love this post, this exposes exactly what might actually be happening here. USAID. Funding from USAID to Democrat-controlled NGOs stopped flowing in January around the same time that small dollar donations to ActBlue suddenly disappeared. By February, 7 of the top ActBlue executives have resigned. What did they know? When did they know it? This is a wonderful little coincidence. There is no such thing as coincidence. So USAID, Elon Musk has regularly said that this was being used to money launder into Democrat campaign coffers. So here's how the grift would work. Somebody in the government gives $1 billion to an NGO, right, to build schools in Africa. That NGO doesn't build a single school in Africa. That $1 billion is siphoned off to the directors of the NGO. The directors of the NGO, of course, are all Democrat Party goblins, and they then use that money and funnel it into said campaigns. Now, how do they do that? There's no way that you would be able to legally give a campaign like $500 million, right? Let's say you had that. So you get $1 billion from the government, $500 million pays out the president of the NGO. The president of the NGO wants to give that $500 million to said candidate, Kamala Harris, let's just say. Okay. How do you do that? It's illegal. Can't give Kamala Harris $500 million. There are limits to how much money you can give each candidate. Well, guess what? You could just go through all of these names and numbers that you have in ActBlue. Every one of them could donate $100, right? So many names, so many little donations that nobody would ever be able to actually, like, you know, wouldn't trigger anything. And so then you're using all of the names and addresses of legitimate people, but you're donating in their name and they don't even know it. In fact, I want to go check my name and see if have they used my name. So then you could push $500 million to Kamala Harris if you just had enough names and numbers, and if you had a non-secure donation platform like ActBlue. So is that what's going on here? Man, Dem fundraising giant ActBlue is imploding in wake of scandals. Top officials are fleeing, employees are in chaos, and GOP-led investigations are ramping up, along with Virginia Attorney General flagging facially implausible donations, and House Republicans are pushing multiple states to start probing whether ActBlue funneled fraudulent. People are going to prison, dude. People are going to go to jail. Says Elon Musk to Charlie Kirk's post here. Something stinks about ActBlue. Elon Musk sounding off. Live look at ActBlue right now. Rats. Fleeing the ship. Yeah. So we know how Joe Biden was able to create the largest voter fraud operation in American history. We have it all on tape, right? Everyone's stuffing ballot boxes, stealing mail-in ballots. And now, ladies and gentlemen, I think we know how Kamala Harris was able to make record amounts of fundraising, and every Democrat probably since the Obama era was able to make record amounts of fundraising on day one. Remember, we raised $50 million in a day, right? Because everyone was so excited about Kamala. Really? Why is it the Democrats always have so much more money than Republicans? Can anybody explain that? I mean, their donors seem to be like on the level, like more poor, professionally unemployed, on welfare. So somebody's gonna have to like, explain that one to me. I think we have begun seeing the light here and what's actually happening. I hope everybody who ever worked at ActBlue, all of them, go to prison. It's your boy Benny. Like, share, and subscribe.